Good morning, everybody. I'm having a rough morning. Try to combat this. I have, besides all of my medication and normal uh, interventions, have been listening to I am healthy, I am strong, I am energetic affirmations over and over and over and over again, and trying to quiet that little voice in my head that wants to immediately respond with, that's bullcrap. You are not. You feel like shit. Blah, 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 blah. Because what we say to ourselves really matters. And how we say it really matters, especially anything that follows I am. And how often we say it matters. Because anything we hear, any information, our brains are a sponge and they're constantly interpreting information. And anything you say to yourself about who you are or what you are experiencing, especially repetitively, your brain learns that and it becomes part of your unconscious and part of your autopilot, so that when your brain searches for meaning, when you feel a particular way physically, or you find yourself in a similar circumstance, emotionally, physiologically, you find yourself where you could be embarrassed or reactive, or sad, or situations that are difficult to cope with. If you are in a habit of negative self-talk and negative interpretation of that experience, then you are apt to reinforce that as the automatic response that you have. Feel embarrassed, feel humiliated, to have a hard time coping, to feel sicker than you actually feel, to not be able to cope with illness, psychologically or physically. So try to instill opposite action, or incorporate a new narrative, even when it's difficult, even when you are struggling. Your life is your story, and it is your job to write the narrative. When we were young and things happened to us, we didn't have the faculties or the experience to understand what was going on. If our parents said something negative or treated us as less than for whatever reason, or we experienced trauma, we didn't have the faculties and memories and experiences and coping skills to be able to internalize and process that as an experience that happened to us, not because of us. The only interpretation that we were able to label that is that I am bad, I am broken, I am scarred. We couldn't begin to understand the reasons and the rationales that may have caused people to behave in the way that they did toward us. Maybe there was medical, financial, personal crises, addictions, and other things occurring with that individual, mental illness, and they weren't in control of themselves, to begin to process these things and these early memories, create a narrative that we carry with us about our entire life. When you look back on your past, focus on trying to change the narrative. Focus with your adult mind and try to comprehend a new narrative about yourself. Explore what those narratives are that you have been telling yourself for years about your past, about your experience. The experience just was. It just is. But we interpreted it through the mind of a child with older, wiser, more developed emotional and intellectual capacities and experiences. Try to reinterpret and reinvestigate what else that could mean, what else that could have been, what else you can attribute to yourself due to circumstances you have been through. Examine present circumstances. Like today, I am sick. I am experiencing the juxtaposition of hypomania and chronic fatigue syndrome. And the hypomania is cutting into my sleep and giving me these days where I feel extra creative. So I'm expending mental energies, creating extra energetic, which is a blessing because I do not often feel energized, and the lack of capacity to contain myself in my proper energy envelope for my chronic fatigue, and recognize that just because you're feeling better, you really shouldn't do more than your energy envelope, because you will pay post-exertional fatigue for it. I am compelled to do, and I did yesterday, and an incredible amount of housework and adult obligations, telephone calls, business, bill paying, mental exertion, physical exertion. I did a workout, all of these things. I ended up being sent home from work and crashed for many hours. And I feel miserable despite all interventions because of a mental health condition pulling me one way and a physical health condition that comes at a cost for energy expenditure over a certain means. So today I'm not myself, and I'm not feeling very good. This is an unpleasant present circumstance, and I can choose how I perceive it. There are many tools that I've talked about on this channel. This too shall pass. This is temporary. Adaptation to circumstances as they are. Watching your self-talk. Reinterpreting that this is for my benefit. This is a reminder when I get carried away with my hypomania, to try to keep that in check, focus on my sleep, to be very open with my mental health team, and make sure I do not have another episode, because if, God forbid, I had an episode of full-blown mania, I think I would be in bedridden for a month afterward, because of taxation on my physical health. But in the moment, I can focus on my body and my physical ill feeling, or I can work to change that narrative by any means necessary, such as, like I mentioned, listening to over and over and over affirmations of physical health, that I am healthy, I am strong, I am energetic, and consciously quieting that voice inside that wants to negate, because that is not how I feel currently. Your present circumstances do not dictate who you are. Just as those trauma experiences early on do not dictate who you are. It is an experience, it is a happening. You dictate who you are. You write the narrative on what each experience you have means. Rewrite what the past experiences mean, and let them go so they do not traumatize you as much now, and they do not define you moving forward. Present circumstances, try to ask when it's troubling, what else could this mean? What else could this be? How else could I take this? What lessons can I learn from this? Where should I focus my attention? Should I focus on the problem, the pain, the discomfort, the crises, or should I focus on the solution? Opposite action, positive feelings and focus. Redirect your energies and rewrite the meaning of the current dilemma, and your future. Is the rest of the book. It's a blank page. Even if it seems guaranteed, nothing in life is guaranteed, and nothing is written in stone. Don't presume you know how a thing shall end, shall unfold, shall be. Be willing to be flexible, adaptable, and changeable, and accepting of life as it comes knocking on your door. But do not be passive in writing your own life, directing your own future. You can't be a control freak because so much is out of our control. Illness comes. Mother Nature comes. Other people can't be controlled. Outcomes can't be controlled. Obstacles can't be foreseen. But you can put yourself in a trajectory toward the story you want to write. And as these things come up in your life, obstacles, unintended outcomes, unforeseen crises, unforeseen situations and relationship turns with others, you can pivot, change, adapt, adjust the narrative, the plot, your reaction, your behavior, your interpretation and perception of the situation to one that is more healthful and helpful, and take the fork in the road that you believe is the most appropriate in that time to continue to drive your narrative of your life the way in which you wish it to unfold. So, your life is your story, and your job is to write the narrative. Everything before today, we can't go backward. We can, however, in our head, in our heart, and in our soul, consciously, with the capacities of a grown, mature adult, reflect, analyze, reinterpret, and rewrite the meaning of the events of our past, and our interpretation of ourselves, our identity of ourselves, due to the events of our past. In the present, experiences that are unpleasant, we can redirect our focus. We can focus on what we can control. We can try to separate ourselves from our mind and our body toward positive things. We can try opposite action. If you are sad, watch a comedy. If you are suffering pain or ill health, watch or listen to things about being powerful and strong and healthy. If you're negative self-talking, try positive affirmations. Police your thoughts. Ask, what else could this mean? How could this be good for me? All of those things to try to modify your perception and interpretation of the meaning of a thing as not bad. It is what it is, what it is, what it is. A fact is what it is. We then apply the meaning atop the fact and add pain and suffering on top of our pain. And you needn't do that. And then when this becomes a memory and a retrospect, you can reinterpret the meaning. And moving forward, try to be conscious and mindful of where you want to go, expecting there to be failures and obstacles and surprises, both good and bad, and things that are beyond your control, and be willing to be flexible but still have your hand on the pen of your life, about who you are, what kind of person you want to show up as, what kind of life you want to have, who it is you want to be. When you reflect and look backward, that you know without regret you showed up, and you showed up as the kind of person that you wanted to be in your life, and within your capabilities you did what you could to do the things that you absolutely were necessities in your life, that you felt you would not be whole without experiencing, that you did your best to experience those things, that you did your best to show up and be a good version of yourself, that you did your best to cope properly, that you did your best by other people and by yourself, that you did your best to write a good book. So good morning, goodbye. This is part of my distraction technique, focusing on something else external from myself, and the way that my body is currently feeling is cathartic presently. It's called distraction. It's another technique. Many of those are in the mindfulness playlist, which I'll probably link to below. But it's your life. You write the narrative, and you can rewrite the narrative by reinterpreting the meaning and the perception. Past, present, and mindfulness of your future. What kind of book would you like to write? You are the protagonist of your own story. Try to make it a good one. Your life is your story, and it is your job to write and rewrite the narrative. Good morning. Goodbye. Love you guys. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A wonderful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor?